Whoops. I was hoping. Well, I am. Yeah, I guess I am. I was trying to figure out how to use the close-up camera so I could turn that way, but let me go back to this one. Hello, everyone. How are you? There we go. I was trying something different, but it didn't quite work. Let me get a drink of water. I made a pumpkin nut bread, and I was just eating a little bit of it before I started the show. It's dry. We kind of overbaked it. I got to tell you this. It's too funny. Okay. So I had it baking in. My daughter Katie was coming for a visit. I was so excited. And Mark said the timer went off. Well, the problem was I didn't know how long to bake it. So I figured, I'll guess 45 minutes. So he took it out and the outside looked really good. It was a loaf pan. And so he thought, well, he said, do you think we should take it out of the pan? I was like, I guess so. And okay. And because I was so busy, I had so many things in my mind. I was just like, I don't know. But he turned it out of the pan onto his pot holder covered hands. The cake sat there for 3 seconds. And then all of a sudden, we realized the inside was not done. It was like a lava cake, and it just kind of rolled over, just like lava. Exactly, Laura. So we quickly tried to scoop up this, partly cooked, partly gloppy mess, put it in just a flat pan, stuck it back in the oven. And in my classic Deb style, I said, I'm not wasting a cup of pecans and a can of pumpkin. So, huh? Oh, Annette Parsons, hello, dear heart. It is so good to see you. Oh, that's great. Debbie is here. I saw that Miss Jo had to run to the store, so I understand. I'm when she gets back, make sure to let me know so I can tell her that's fine. And Debbie's here. Mary's here. And Laura and Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. I've got something to show Cheryl because she gave me some great hints last week. I love collective wisdom. You ladies amaze me. I'll come up with a problem or something I don't know how to handle. Y'all got the solution and it worked. So, in fact, it ended up being so much fun for my daughter and I because we had Thursday and most of Friday was craft days for us, and that was so much fun. So it is so good to see Laura and Annette. How nice to see you. I hope you are well. Yeah, kind of. Well, it just kind of looked like a lumpy mess, but it's still good. Michelle the quilter, hello. It's so good to see you. Oh, this is so nice. I tell you, every time I get so tired and I think, oh, I don't know what to talk about today, or how do I put together a show in the last minute, and I come in here and y'all just lift me right up, and I love that. Charlene Lawson is here. Man, this is great. This is great. Well, as usual, we start the show. I made sure to move my Ukrainian flag so it could be seen. And we want to thank. Yeah, it's good, Mary, but it's a little dry. But if you put enough cream cheese on it, I could eat cat food as long as it had cream cheese on it. But it's been a busy week, and I should have brought um, toothpicks down to keep my eyes open. Because I tell you, I had the best time with Katie, but we just talked and did and talked and did. And when she left to go over to my other daughter's house, to her sister's house, I fell sound asleep. I mean, I was gone. And when I wake up, oh, I love your fall things. In fact, my fall things are hidden. Let me grab them out to show you because I was cleaning up some things upstairs because I have got my usual pumpkins. I've got a wreath hanging up there, a fall wreath. And then I've got a cute little scarecrow. But when we were cleaning the house in anticipation of my daughter coming, we found this on the stack of blankets that we keep in the living room. Do y'all remember me making this? It was either last year or a year before. And in typical Deb fashion, it's got a little tiny applique pin holding the back together. And it never got stuffed properly. It just has whatever I had handy to stuff in it. But I love this. Mitty is here. Hi, hon. This is great. We're going to have fun today. But I love this. It was, the fun thing about having a show is you're always having to come up with new ideas. And even though I don't do as many new ideas because I'm a tired girl, it's fun to bring them back out and enjoy them all over again. So I love this time of year. I'm sure y'all do too. So I've got to get all my cute little things back in place here. But so the weather has been great. We did have to get in my house plants because you're supposed to, if you put house plants out for the summer, you're supposed to bring them in when the nighttime temperatures get to and stay around 55 degrees or below. Well, I kind of shot past that 55 and was going to 45 and said, I really should get the house plants in because I love to take them out for the summer. Some of them are very big, 6 feet tall. And I love to take them out for the summer so that they can rejuvenate. They love being outside. I put them in a gazebo area, kind of pergola area, and so they're in just the right amount of shade and indirect light. And then they love the humidity. And, you know, when I water them, I water the whole plant, which they love. And since I have been reading more and more about how plants help each other and communicate in chemical ways, I always group my plants together now. And I think they're happier. I had a ficus that was just looking pitiful after about 20 years in the house. I mean, it didn't have a lot going on. And I never moved it because I was afraid. Ficus tend to be really fussy. So I took it out to, we were going to repaint. We repainted, my daughter repainted the sunroom back in July. So I left it out. I said, you know what? It's such a pitiful looking plant. I'm just going to leave it out. Well, did it become very happy. So I told Mark, as soon as it warms up next spring, we're going to take it out and totally repot it and leave it out for the summer, probably trim it a little bit so that because the inside is, the leaves tend to be all around the outside. But boy, the plants did beautiful. And I have a fiddle leaf fig. It grew like you wouldn't believe. So it was over 6 feet tall. So I cut the last limb, that the newest growth, dipped it in rooting hormone, put it down in the soil, cross your fingers, because they're a funny plant. I know this is not supposed to be a plant show. It's supposed to be a quilt show. But they're a funny plant. They have to be supported. They don't grow on a strong stem. And it's almost like they want to be part vine, but still with a nice thick. So if you ever get one, be prepared to give them very bright light and regular watering, like once a week, not too much, but not too little. And the leaves, if they get dry before you water again, the leaves will get little red. It almost looks like they've gotten red aphids, but it's uneven watering will mark the leaves. So they're kind of finicky and they want to be spindly. So keep pinching them back to force them into sending out side shoots. So, thank you. Yes, I got this off of somewhere very cheaply. This morning when I put it on, I realized I must have dropped it because little part of it's broken off on the very bottom. See right there, you can see. But I thought that would look really pretty with this top. So thank you. And do you notice my beautiful heart-shaped pen? Miss Hopi sent this to me. It's very special to me. So thank you, everyone. You are so kind. Our Bonnie is here. Good thing, too, because Miss Bonnie, I realized your quilt had gotten covered up in the hurry and the hecticness of getting ready for shows. So I said, I'm bringing out Miss Bonnie's quilt so it can be seen. It needs to get that attention. So, hello, everyone. It is so good to see you. Been a busy week. Mark came back from the beach Monday evening, and then we were exhausted, both of us. I was exhausted because I don't sleep well when he's gone, and I was so bone tired, staying up till 5 in the morning, getting up with the dogs at 9:30, and just taking little cat naps during the day. It caught up with me, and then so we were kind of quiet on Tuesday, but then Wednesday and Thursday, before my daughter got here, we were cleaning the house, cooking food, and getting ready for them to come. Dolores Fagan is here. Yay! She is our resident artist. I like to claim her because she's so talented. We have Hopi and we have Dolores that I consider our resident artists. and they are professional artists. So it's really, really nice to see them. And if you were to see some of Dolores's quilts, you've seen one or two of them either on a quilting TV show or in a quilting magazine. There's one of a little girl sitting in a field with little butterflies. I recognized that as soon as she showed me that. So it's so good. Oh, Lisa's here too. Yay, Lisa. Man, I'm having a blast today. Thank you so much. So it's so funny. I got to tell you this. This is, it's a being a mom kind of thing that you didn't quilt the snail trail. Yeah. You know what? I didn't know how to do mine either. So I kind of looked at it, and I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10 when I put a quilt on the frame, I have no clue what to do. So I put it on the frame and I look at it. Now I keep a dry erase board handy. And whether you quilt on your domestic or frame, keep a dry erase board handy, a dry erase eraser and a dry erase pen. And then I also keep some idea books right there. And what I do before I start quilting is I do muscle memory exercises. And all that is on your dry erase board, draw some of the designs you want to do on your quilt and do them over and over, because that primes your muscles to go, oh, yes. Like if you hadn't done a quilt feather, a feather design or quilting. If you haven't done one of those in 6 months, go and if you don't have a dry erase board, then just use paper. But draw the shape out. And the first time you draw it out, it's going to be kind of ugly. Just draw it out, draw it out. And then before you know it, it is looking really good. Another little hint. If I'm going to try something that's a little difficult and I'm a little concerned about how good I'm going to be doing, I will roll the quilt so I start quilting at the bottom of the quilt. Because when you look at a quilt hanging there or laying there, you always look at the top of the quilt. So by the time I get to the top of the quilt, that's my best quilting. So just little hints and tricks I do. But definitely practice and get your muscle memory going. And that way when you start, and even if you do it on a domestic, what you might wish to do is hold the pencil and move the paper in the shapes, because that's what you're doing with your quilt on the domestic. Just practice a little bit. Some people keep, if they're new domestic, they keep a little scrap top backing, a little scrap piece that they kind of do those little movements first. Yeah, you have to be in the right mood. That is so true. If you're not in a creative mood, don't even start. I have forced myself at times. That's why I don't do quilting for others unless it's just a rare thing. Because that forcing, today I need to quilt. No, that doesn't work for me. And I have forced myself and hated the quilting that was on there. And if you've ever thought you really hated something more, that is when you have to take out all those quilting stitches and try not to damage the fabric. Oh my gosh. Did I ever tell y'all I had a young woman just fresh out of college, and she took design courses, clothing courses, and she loved historical clothing. So she made a bodice for me, and it's kind of a bodice vest. I wanted to move this to a better location. And she made this bodice for me, or was it a whole dress? And I said, don't worry, I've got a button cutter. I'll do the cutouts for where you tie up the front of the bodice. Well, I didn't get the cut exactly where I wanted, so I took my seam ripper, and when you cut buttonholes open, put a strong pin at the beginning and at the end of that button slot. I didn't. I was in a hurry and I went like this, cut right through the edge of the front of that bodice. I just kept going a quarter of an inch too much. I was so horrified to tell her what I had done. I went home, I matched the threads as close as I could and tried to reweave that fabric together. I felt awful. So I should have let her do it, because if she had accidentally cut it, I'd have said, no problem, we can repair it. But when I did it, I felt like a donkey's behind, let me tell you. So anyway, but some of these stories, I haven't been telling some of my stories lately, and I got plenty. That's why I can tell you every mistake that you could ever make, because I made them. So you've done that too? Oh gosh. Oh, you're so sweet. Yes, y'all are so good to me. So, okay. So then my doctor's quilt, the quilt I'm making for my doctor who's retiring, didn't work on it at all this week. Then the fall landscape Smoky Mountains didn't work on it at all this week. In fact, I thought I hung it up. Yes, it's down there. But I tell you what, it's exciting. It's, you know how I tell you there's stages to do a landscape quilt, and that there's one stage where it'll look awkward, but just keep going. When you look, whoops, let me move my big head. When you look at this, before I started doing the thread painting, it looked like a cartoon. And once you start doing the thread painting, it's amazing how it comes to life. So I'm excited about finishing it. I think it's going to be one of my favorites, and I can't wait to have that done. But I didn't work on that at all. I didn't work on the doctor's quilt, which I have to have done in 3 weeks. I didn't. Was there anything else I didn't do? I felt like actually I didn't do one thing more of our collage pumpkin on canvas, but we'll work on that today. But I did do something good. Now, when I say I did something good, let me preface that too, because I was trying to have this Grinch. Oh, I hope I didn't just break my... Hold on, I got a bunch of heavy fabric on my hoop. No, I didn't break it. Something didn't sound right, but I don't see it's broken. But, you know, I made the template for the Grinch pillow. Let me see if I've got something to put behind it. You can't see that much of the dark behind it anymore because the way I trimmed it out. And I got my thicker pearl cotton in that I will show you. And what I'm making, I'm going to get ready and change cameras, but what I'm making is I'm making everyone in the family a Grinch pillow. I saw this somewhere and thought, oh, they are so cute. So Grinch is my favorite Christmas thing. But let me now come down here. All right, so get the camera ready before I bring you in, because I don't want to make you dizzy. All right, detail close-up camera. All right, so here is the pearl cotton, and it's just a little bit thicker than some I have seen to work with. And I ordered this off of Walmart online, and it was for this is like a 275, it's 2-ply. It is, there was somewhere 250, 278 yards. 200, whoops, turn it around. 278 yards. Okay. So this was $4.50 a piece, which I felt was very reasonable. So I got 2 of the black because I have to do more of the black, I think, than I do the yellow. And then I put a fusible heavy embroidery support. What do you call it? Like a fusible like embroidery interfacing. I've cut it loose now, but I had it all covering this while I did it, the embroidery. And this is hand embroidery. And I've got my camera upside down so I can adapt. Here is my Grinch face. So here that is. And what I did is I put it in this wooden hoop so that I can embroider it and keep it flat, keep it the right shape. So I wanted to have this done before and hand it to my daughter so I didn't have to ship it, but it didn't happen. Now what I did is I bought this. This is a Minky in the lime green. And I'm glad I didn't get a fake fur because I don't like all the fake fur, little threads going everywhere. So, but anyway, here it is. So I use this and then those yarn, pearl cottons, and I'm just going to do them by hand because the stitches, I mean, I know if you had the right machine, you probably could do all of this stuff on the machine, but these are all uneven and stuff. So it wasn't bad. It probably takes me 8 hours to do one. So I just have to make sure I start and keep going. You should to draw the quilt design on it, lay it on top of the quilt block. Yes. Some people there's a type of plastic wrap. I'm trying to remember what it's called. That a lot of people, it kind of tends to want to stick to the fabric. So they will, saran wrap. I think it's a type of saran wrap. And they will use that and draw, either lay it on the quilt and draw the design. Just make sure it, stays on the plastic, doesn't come through. But okay, so here are these. Now what I did is, because you always feel like you have to spend, let me come back to the main camera, because you always feel like, what am I going to stuff it with? And I don't know about y'all, but when you get a bag of stuffing mix or stuffing, they're not expensive, but they're not cheap. And it takes a lot, like to make this 15-inch pillow, it would take a big bag of stuffing. And then you get into I don't want to stuff it so it's so hard. But then if you don't put enough stuffing in, you know what I mean. So what I did is I went online on Walmart online and bought 4 of their cheapest pillows. So this pillow is $3 and a few cents. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to cut it in half and stitch it. I'm going to see if I can pull apart the stuffing so that I can pin it and sew it without having to cut it. I might not be able to do that because I tried the other day doing it and I didn't take enough time to try to really get the stuffing moved away and try to get it flat, and it bent a sewing needle. That's not good to do. It'll throw off your timing. So I may have to cut them open, move the stuffing to each side, pin them really good, and then stitch them. But so 1/2 of each pillow is going to be the stuffing of those. And if that means for $1.75, I'm making my own pillow form. So because all I have to do is have the outer, it just saves time, it saves money. So I'm tickled. So that is coming along. And I've got a retreat that's going to be coming up, and I could work on them at the retreat. That might be a nice hand project to do. But I'm just going to keep one going. Just keep it going. So that's my Grinch pillow. Now I'm going to show you what Katie and I did when we were here. So, okay. My daughter, she's so sweet. She had some alcohol inks that she wanted to give me that she didn't need. She couldn't find them. So she ordered Amazon it and it had it delivered and it arrived the morning that she was going to arrive. So that was awfully sweet. But I said, I'm going to I'll give you a hint about alcohol inks too. All right, I'm going to see if I can turn this camera around so it's not upside down because it's nice when you can see what I can see. All right, I'll show you what Katie and I did. Now, I didn't bring the bag of alcohol inks down, but we tried some alcohol inks on tile. And the one problem is the alcohol inks were a little runny. If you're like me, you think, oh, alcohol inks are alcohol inks. I've never had them before, didn't know that much. The best alcohol inks I've noticed the artists use Pinata, which is made by Jacquard. Well, we know that Jacquard is like the best with paints and inks because they have higher pigment levels, and pigment is what is expensive. The alcohol is not very expensive in these, but it's the pigments that are. So these turned out to be pretty runny. Now, that means if you're going to paint with them, maybe this was just an inexpensive brand on Amazon. Maybe that's not the best to just paint with. This here, I would paint, let it dry, paint, let it dry. And this is the kind that you put the paint on. You first put some spots of alcohol on the tile, then drop the alcohol inks on, and then you'd use a straw and you blow it to get the forms. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Santa to bring me different kinds of pinata alcohol inks. So just be aware, if you want to start doing alcohol ink painting, buy a better quality. But you know what these are really good for? They are good. Oh, you know what I did? Silly me, I forgot to bring my silicone mold. But I bought those silicone molds and I was real excited about them. But then I realized, oh, they're so soft. I can't push polymer clay in them because it'll just, flatten them down. So, wonderful Cheryl said, hey, use liquid polymer and then mix it with alcohol ink. So here is a good sized bottle of liquid polymer. And I can do this, I just can't show you how I put it in the mold because I forgot to bring that down. But what you can mix this either in a little container like this or on a lid. You don't have to have it in something. In fact, it's probably easier to dip out if you have it on a flat piece of scrap plastic. But you just take and put in some liquid polymer, and you can get this just almost anywhere. And there's all kinds of things that you can do with liquid polymer. And I want to make a purple and gold rose. And so let me put some purple in there. Now, be careful the amount of ink you use. It will make whatever it'll make this polymer is kind of a translucent and it can come out very dry. So be careful with that. Now let me get one of these skewers and mix the color in. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look what Mark just stuck down. Oh, he heard. He must have listened to it. Oh my gosh. Yep, I love that man. Oh my goodness gracious. So you mix this up, and you know what? I wonder if I want to put a touch more in it. Hold on one second, because I was thinking it might be pretty to not have it. Oops, this ink, I cut too much of the tip off. It's better with this container. It comes with a little prick that just puts a little hole in the end of the spout. Well, I didn't know that's how, and I just used scissors and cut the end off, and it leaks on me now. But luckily, we then learned, oh, here are these little things. Okay, let me get out. I love using these wet wipes because they have a little bit of alcohol in them, which means if they have the alcohol in them, it's easier to get the alcohol off your fingers. But if it doesn't fully come off and you can't get it to wash off easily, just get some stronger alcohol. All right. So now what I'm going to do is just carefully mix this. And remember, this won't harden until you bake it. So you don't have to worry about, uh-oh, hurry up and close it because it's going to dry. No, it won't. So now I did something kind of cool with one of these, and I'm trying to figure out, I think I'll make another rose just because I get a kick out of those roses. That was so sweet of him to bring that down. Oh my gosh. He almost made me cry. All right, so taking this gold paint. This is the gold alcohol ink. Now, one of these, the silicone molds, some are better at imprinting than others. And I think this one is my favorite one. So I'm going to take, I made sure to shake this gold because it has a lot of metallic dust in it, and you gotta, if you want that good metallic gold, you've got to shake it real good each time you use it. All right, so I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna put little touches down in the bottom, because I'll show you one that I did that way and I really like it. I like how it came out. Okay. All right, so now I'll close this up. And I don't even bother to put this in the other paint because I don't want to mix it in. So now, if you had a paintbrush, you can use an old paintbrush, or I'm just going to use this skewer, and I'm going to just brush it towards the bottom. You see now why I didn't over mix it when I put the extra purple in, because I don't want to lose some of the striations in it. Okay, so then you just gently pour this in. Now, one thing I found, don't fill it to the top. Do not fill it to the top because then it will form a little mound once it's baked. So we've almost got this all in. It's that easy just to let it run in. Let it run in. Now it's looking right full, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to close this for now to keep it neat and tidy. And I can, if I want later, can make some more and right in that. Okay. Now, what I do now is just kind of slam it down, because what I want it to do is to get into, see how that little air hole opened up, because I want it to get into all the little nooks and crannies. Let's see how you'll see when I do this. And just be careful it doesn't flop out, but it's thick enough, it shouldn't. Sometimes oh, look at that. Just stretch these, and you just want to make sure that that polymer gets in all the little edges, because see how this soft stuff, you want it to get down in every little part. So take the time to work it in. Oh, there's another gap, and then smack it like this. But I was just trying, I don't know that this is the best way. I just am using some common sense I picked up along the way to say, yeah, when you're doing a bundt cake, you kind of got to smack it a little bit, make sure that the dough gets into the little edges and crevices. So just keep working it. Just keep working it. And then, as you see like that, you end up with some gaps. Just take and rub it in. And let me see. You want that rose to have as much definition as you can. And this is your only chance to get it right, or at least I think. It's one of these things, I don't know how else you would. Okay, so there it is. I think that's pretty good, and is a little dip, so it's not filled up all the way to the top. There's a little dip. So now what I do is I would take, you notice my daughter brought these little 4-inch tiles, and she said, do you want them? And I was like, yeah, they're great. One thing I've learned from Jessima tutorials is these tiles are wonderful to bake on. I take and put this on a cookie sheet, or you can put it in the oven just like this. You bake it at 275 for at least a half an hour, and then when you take it out, it just pops right out. Now, if you're worried, normally when we bake cakes and cookies, we try not to get the batter on the edge. But with this, once it comes out, it'll be a little thin, thin little, I wish I had some here to show you, but just a little thin flange, and you can trim it off with scissors. It's not a big deal. It just, and so it peels right off of this silicone. Nothing will stay to the silicone. In fact, here are some of the ones that were baked before, and it just makes little dust. It comes right off. So there we go. Now, so I have to bake this, then I run it outside because I don't want the fumes all in the house. I have the fan on in the oven and above the oven. Then I run it outside to cool. Then once it's cool, you just pop it right out, and I'll show you what that makes. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way. Last thing I want to do is to make a big mess. Okay, so the very first rose I made was this one. And if you can see how I didn't make sure it got, like, this is missing a petal. And so, and you can get these little silicone molds for just a couple dollars each. But I saw by making this, ooh, I've got to do a better job, okay? So then I did this one. And with this one, I did the gold. See how I just put some little gold around? And I like how that looks. Now, what am I going to do with these? I haven't decided, but if I make certain kinds of simple jewelry, I might take a baby rose and glue on part of it. I can take, and if I make a card or gift, glue a little one. But you can see one of my earlier small ones, not good. That one will be thrown away, and I'll make another one. And they started getting a little better and a little better. And the mold has several different sizes. This one needs a lot of work. So these were beginning. Then I took some microfine glitter and mixed it with the alcohol ink and the liquid polymer. And I like the glitter in there too. So I'm going to just keep trying and learning and see what you get. But until it's baked, you don't know what you've got. Then I took, now this, I wanted to put some silver in the form, but I wish that I had done it plain first. And I was afraid this color would get too dark, so I did it a little bit light. But I have here is the fern, the one that I did that's the fern. And you can see too, see how that little bit of clay just kind of dusted right off? Nothing sticks to silicone. And then I want to try some of these because they would make really cute little earrings. But now that Cheryl told me about liquid polymer, I'm so excited because I'm going to try lots of little things and see how they come out. But you could make something like this, paint it with gold, put it on an ornament. I mean, it just gives you a whole new idea or opportunity to make new things. And, that's what it's all about. I told my daughter, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with all of this, but as long as I'm creating, I'm happy. As long as it's not costing me too much or bankrupting anything, it makes me happy. And let's say I make so much of whether it's my paper beads or whether it's the dot painting or whatever. Well, if I throw them away, the worst hasn't happened because the joy is in the creating. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. And I love having little gifts. And that way, anytime I see somebody, whether it's a nurse at the doctor's office or whatever, I can give them a gift. Now, let me see if this will shine better once I turn a light on. These are great. They're supposed to look like diachromatic glass. I forgot the word, but it's a metallic glass procedure. And so what we did with this is we rolled out some black clay. Then we laid one of those thin metallic sheets, silver, on top of the clay, and that makes anything you put on top reflective, so it reflects back to you. And then we took and baked them. So we just baked the silver clay on top of the black, and I don't know if you can see a little bit of the silver that comes through. Then what we did is after we baked those for half an hour, and they were still a little bit flexible. They're less flexible now because we used UV resin to cure them. But let me turn this, let me get down a little more. But you see how reflective the paint is? And because this alcohol ink is very thin, I had to put coating upon coating upon coating. If I had used the pinata, I probably could have just done it with one coat. But I would add another color and it would like make the ink spread out, run. And so what I had to do is be patient, which is hard for me. I had to be patient and put on the red, let it dry, then put on the purple, let it dry, then put on the turquoise, let it dry, so on and so on. And so I just had to put all the colors on, try to let them dry in between time, and that's probably about 6 coats. 6 times I did each color to try to get that depth of color. Then Mark took his Dremel tool and drilled holes in them. And I'm not sure exactly yet what I'm going to do, but once we had them done, then we took, this is the best one, we took and put resin and you run it just to the edge. You put it under the little UV light that we got with the kit, and then that gives it a nice, thick, kind of professional bubble look. Just really nice. Now we could do more to decorate the back, but Katie and I are like, we don't care. So anyway, these were a lot of fun. There'll be more things like this that I'm going to try in the future. I love this little shape. I just think that's cute as can be. So that's what we did when Katie was here, and we had fun. And I am loving doing polymer now that I found a good YouTube teacher. So remember Jessama, Jessama, Jessama Tutorials. She's a young girl from, let me get the camera back. One moment, please. I always have to chase my cursor. She's a young girl from Australia who is incredibly talented and an excellent teacher. And that's really important. I'm a visual learner. She just seems to know how to speak to me, and I just follow what she does. So, thank you, Cheryl. We had a blast. And I went from thinking I've wasted money to now have a whole new fun thing to do. So thank you, thank you. All right. So now the 2 things I have left to do with you, besides we are going to do show and tell. I don't have too many things, but I have a few things to show you. Then we're going to work more on our collage pumpkin. I'm excited to do this. I really am. And I'm going to show you how to make fabric beads. Okay? Because that's a fun way to use up unusual fabrics. And whoops, I dropped my pumpkin. And sorry, pumpkin. Thank goodness it wasn't real. Pumpkin, where are you? Hold on, people. All right. Pumpkin's fine. Plastic. So let me grab the paper bead stuff. All right. So now I'll go back to the close-up camera and let's do some paper beads. All right. Here we go. I've got my good old tacky glue, and I've got my bead rollers. And if anybody's interested, I might have 1 or 2 bead rollers. I have them in 2 different sizes. Now here is a paper bead that they're not paper beads. These are paper beads because they're made out of printed paper or junk mail. But this is what we're going to make today. And this is a bead out of fabric, which means the sky's the limit. I made 2 different paper bead rollers in 2 different sizes. Can you see the sizes? Now I'm going to use the smaller one for this today. And all you have to do is cut a strip approximately the size you want, the width that you want. And I'm sure that you could I'm just going to do a good old barrel bead. But I'm sure that if you put enough enough of the sizing on it, the spray starch, then you could, because you'd want it pretty stiff, you could probably do a long triangle and make a more round bead. But to me, it's just, this is a nice way to start if you've never done a paper bead. In the past, I tried putting some interfacing or stiffener behind it. It didn't work. By the time you roll it, the interfacing or stiffener wanted to come off. Now what I'm going to do, since it is hard to trim beads once, it's harder to trim beads once they're made. So I'm going to try to make sure that this is pretty equal, pretty even, and make sure it doesn't have any funny edges. So I just fold it pretty small, making sure it tries to stay as straight and tidy as it can, and then give it just a little trim. All right, let me get the scraps out of the way. Then I'll get my smaller bead roller, and what I'm going to do is this is an open slot. This tool is actually, this is not for this purpose, but it makes really good bead rollers because you can slip the fabric in that slot. You just slip it, see how you slip it in the slot? And then while carefully holding it, start rolling it. Don't let it come out of the slot or else it won't hold. But now see this? Now what I'm going to do with fabric, I don't want to wait to the end to glue it. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm going to just put little dots here because I don't want it to come apart or come off as I'm trying to, or come apart when I'm trying to pull it off of the roller. And in fact, you know what? It might have slipped out. Yeah, I think it slipped out of the notch. So let me come back here. Yeah. If you're not careful and it slips out of the knot, then you can't get a nice tight roll going. So here it is. It's in the thing. Now what I'm going to do, so it doesn't happen, so it doesn't slip off again, I'm not gluing it to the roller. I'm just gluing it to the fabric. So hopefully now it won't. And I'm rolling it nice and snug without pulling it too hard because I don't want it to come out of the notch. The notch holds it in place. Oops. Nope, it came out again. Okay, hold on. What I'm going to, when that happens and you get too many times that it is coming out of the notch, I'm going to show you what I do. I do the same thing if it were paper. I take and put a little bit of glue and I fold it to make it thicker. Fold it down. And the reason I use glue is because when you roll it up, you want a nice clean opening to run your cord or your elastic band through. When you roll it up, you want it nice and open here. See that? Nice and open. So by folding this over, it gives it the thickness to stay in the notch better. See, now I think it will stay in there much better. This is why it's important to put some starch on the fabric. Now I'm going to do a little touch of glue. I'm barely putting any little dots, as you can see. And then but you want to be able to pull it firmly, okay? A few more little dots just to make sure that when you take it off, if you took it off and it's stuck in the middle, the whole thing could come unwound. You don't want that to happen. Now what I'm going to do is to see how big do I want to make this. And actually, this is pretty close to being there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try something. I'm going to try cutting a curved line on this edge of this bead so that it blends easier, so you don't have a nice sharp ridge of, oh, that's where the fabric ended. Because in real beads, they don't have a ridge right there. So what I'm going to do now, I'll put the glue there. I'm going to bring it around and with my finger, push the glue so it covers all that end of the fabric. And see how when I cut this curve, it's less noticeable. See right here? Here's if I cut it flat. And you can kind of feel it, and you can kind of see it right along there. By cutting it on a curve, it helps it blend better. All right, so now the fact that we did the little intermediate gluing, when I go to pull it off, it came off beautifully. And it doesn't, because you technically, you could pop the middle out if you weren't careful. And that's why you want to make sure too, don't get any glue on this when you're first starting to roll the bead. So now I'm just going to take my scissors, lay them flat on the top of the bead. And this is why I love these with the spring, because it makes easy work and doesn't hurt my hands. If I had to put my fingers in the holes with scissors, my arthritis would be awful. But I'm just going to now take, and by laying that scissor on the flat part of the bead like this, that when you go around, it makes a nice, flat, professional looking end of a bead. Okay, so just go around, do some little trimming up. Then, now you've got a nice, even, tidy bead, and you let this dry for a day, and then you start coating it with triple thick, the acrylic sealer, okay? Just, you start coating it, but make sure it's dry first. And I don't really think, if you wanted to make, well, this one, see how nice and dark that is? But you could do two things. Let me show you. Because how to make a professional bead, a lot depends on how you finish the ends of the bead. So here is a permanent marker. And you would just take the permanent marker and color the ends of the bead. Any little threads, those little threads, I'm just going to trim off. Okay. And then normally I would let it dry first and then do this, but I want to show you the different stages. Now see how that can look a little messy? So just come in here. This is a laundry marker, I believe, but any permanent black marker, or matching if you want, and just kind of color a little bit of the ends where the fabric, So now then you have a very professional looking bead, and I would put 2 to 3 coats of the sealer, acrylic sealer, on it. And then you're on your way to making a bracelet or a necklace, or you can hang them like this, like earrings, put a little one of these color beads on the bottom, make a little set of earrings. So it's that really easy, and I can make at least one more out of this strip. And what I would do if I had a scrap is take another piece and glue it. Like pretend that these are 2 separate pieces. I'll put a little glue here, making sure this is a curvy shape. Glue that there, making enough new fabric for yet another bead. So simple, simple. The neat thing about this is you can make earrings to match your outfits because you've got so many different fabrics in your stash. So there you go. Hopefully, if you have been playing with the paper bead making, you see something else that you can now do. And you see where by putting the triple thick on, gives it a nice hard finish, nice and hard, and pretty impervious to water, and it'll last a long time. Okay, so that is some fabric bead making. There are just so many crafts out there, so much to spend your time on. And you know, they've done studies, and people who have hobbies live longer, happier, healthier lives. I truly believe it. And I love what Kate Jackson of The Last Homely House on YouTube, she says when you're having a rough time or are feeling stressed, she says, get out of your head and into your hands. And I truly believe that. I tell you, I can be such an anxious person. And if it weren't for my craft, I'd be a mess. So, yeah, gosh, it's nice. So, exercise and crafting, and, you know, we do what we have to do to get by. And it's better than the eating that I used to do. So, all right. So, what we're going to do right now, because our last thing is turning this two-dimensional pumpkin into what looks like a three-dimensional. And the fun thing is, I don't know if I'm going to use fabric around the edge to do the background, or I might go up with my paints and paint a background. But I'm going to use my fabric to fill in this pumpkin. But before we do that, first, let's go see what we have in the way of photos. And I can't wait to ask Miss Hopi how did her sale go. And I'm hoping it went really well. I'm curious to see, you know, I don't know if Canada is having some of the inflationary problems that we're having, but I'm hoping people turned out because Miss Hopi's work is pretty amazing. Oh, and don't let me go until I show you what I did on the Moon Glow kit. I did a little bit of that. So, okay, my glasses. I think, that you know when it's time to change into a new pair of glasses when you can't keep the other ones clean enough. So, okay. So no, there's something right there bothering that eye. I can't even see it on there. Maybe it's my eye. But let's go to see your quilt. Oh, and while I'm here, let me write down, okay, our time spell it correctly, Deb, to quilt at gmail.com. That is my email address. If you would like to join our free groups IO, if you would like to send me pictures of your work that we can show, or if there's one of my, I don't know how hundreds of free patterns that you would like, let me know. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go to show and tell. And let's see. We'll bring up Miss Alberta's first. Right there. Okay, here we are. Now where did it go? Come on. Let me go anchor this picture over there. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you all of this, but it helps when I talk it through. Okay, now here is Miss Alberta's latest beautiful table runner. Whoops, bring this up first. I love her design wall. Okay, here we go. Is her latest table runner that she made. And I love the lemons. I love yellow and blue. And I love that it's a different yellow and blue. It's a bold one. So thank you, Miss Alberta, for sending this. You are the best. And remember, Miss Alberta is a woman of an age, and she's very busy and still is creating. So she's one of my heroes, let me tell you. Okay, now let's go and see who is next. Let me see. Miss Bonnie. Okay, these are so cute. Miss Bonnie's very busy in SCA, and that is reenactments. And she has this cute dragon sculpture. And when she was making her Viking hood, she dressed him as well. Can't leave him out. Isn't he cute? And here is her Viking hood that she made. And here is her robe that she puts on over her dress. I love this picture of our Bonnie. And here is a beautiful quilt, an art quilt applique that she finished not too long ago. And here she is at her reenacting event with her robe on. And I can't wait till she tells us how she found to keep her what do you call them, straps up on her shoulder, because that's a hard thing, and so she said someone gave her a hint. So okay, so now thank you, Miss Bonnie, and now we're going to somewhere. I have a folder. Let me see what I did with it. I had an up here. Nope. Must be, yep, it's in this one. I thought there was another folder. Oh, poo. Let me keep looking. I did have another folder, and I'm not sure where it is. Okay, let's see. It's not October 31st. Let me see. No, it's not in there. Okay. Well, I might not be able to find mine, and I took time and made it. But not that. It's not going to be this. No. Okay. Well, oh, is it October, Deb? Yes, I found it. Boy, I'll just show you real quick one of Mark's pictures from his time at the coast. Isn't that just beautiful? I just love it. Oh, you have to take them off, reposition them closer to the neckline. Okay, good for you. I was going to say, how about that stuff you put on the shelves of a camper to keep things from slipping and sliding? Is there some way? And this is my grandsons out with their mom picking pumpkins. Another photo. I bet you Mark thinks, oh, I wish I could go back to the coast. But it's so peaceful there. Okay. And well, this is one more really cute picture. All right. So I asked my daughter, because I just saw a picture that I'm going to show you. When Mark goes to the beach, I make this dinner every time he goes. And what it is, the rice is a Cajun dish called perlo. And then I make hamburgers and then corn on the cob. Now, that perlo is a dish that my grandmother used to make. She was Arcadian from South Carolina. And so for me, that's a dish of my childhood. So I ate it all week long, finished it last Sunday. So I asked my daughter, I said, is there any of my dinners that you would like for me to make? She said, could we have Perlo? I said, sure. So I made another huge batch of Perlo, and that was so cute. That it was like, that's what you do when you're a mom. It's like, did I really want to look at Perlo again? Not really, but you do that. So here is my daughter Becky is the one in the front. My daughter Katie is this one in the back. And they were in Greensboro looking around. They called it adventuring. And here we are. There's Mark in the background. But here we are at my grandson's band competition last night. So here we are. And we took, oh, here is a picture of my Katie's chickens. And a few years ago, she had to have her whole flock culled, if you know what I mean, because the bird flu was going around and their department, oh gosh, what do you call it? But it might be the Farming Bureau or something, had to go around. And if any flock tested positive, they had to be dispatched. And so she had to go a year or two without any chickens. She had to repaint and sanitize everything. And now she's got her chickens again. So here is my grandson's band playing, and they won second place. They did beautifully. This is my daughter Katie, her farm up on the eastern shore of Maryland. And I'm just so tickled that she would drive all the way down here. Here's another picture of us. And there's Mark right in the background. But oh gosh, I love being with my daughters. I just love it. And let me see. I think this is, no, is this Evan? Yeah, this is Evan. And this is his girlfriend, Ren. Cute as can be. Another one of my daughter Katie's chickens. Chickens are so cute. And here's the grandson's band. And here's some of Katie's, one of her little pumpkins in the garden. And this is my grandson right here. And he loves being in his marching band. And I love marching band. So, I think that's pretty special. And this is him again. Katie's real good about zoning in on the photos of him. He's a senior this year, so here, there's my favorite picture. There's Katie and I together. And we just kept taking pictures till we got it right. That's what we did. So there we are. And then that's Katie's house and her pumpkin vines and her two doggies on the porch. And this is my grandson again. And this is his girlfriend, Ren. And I just love it. The kids are so excited to be in the band. They love what they're doing. It's wonderful. Okay, another pumpkin from Katie's garden. I showed this picture today because this quilt I rehomed with Katie. And she said she wanted it. I got the binding on, and hopefully I was trying to look over it very quickly and make sure there were no stitches missing. So hopefully I got it. I told her if not, when I come see her, I'll fix it. And here's another photo of Katie and her sister Becky. And my Becky, believe it or not, is going to be 47 the end of this month. And she's this one right here. She doesn't look it, but she's going to be 47 and Katie is 44. It's like, when did they grow up? Oh my gosh. So then here is Andy, our newest member of the family, Andy, and he is heating up some of that Perlo for them. Oh, he's such a sweetheart. Here's Mark playing with the pups on the floor. They were so happy to see him come home from the beach. They missed him. And here's my grandson right out front and center. And let's see. Uh, this is just a cute picture of my granddog Polly with her glasses on. She is such a sweet dog that she'll do just about anything you ask of her. Okay, so that's it for me. That's enough for me. So back to show and tell. Let me see. We have Debbie and I love her quilting loft. I tell you what, Mark and I are thinking about what do we want to do for our next home, where are we going to retire? And I tell you, it would be a dream for me to have a quilting loft. I just think that's amazing. Beautiful space, Debbie. Beautiful. And then her art gallery on the stair transition on the wonderful stair landing. Don't you like that? It's her own art gallery. So I love that. And then here is a great seasonal quilt, a good old Halloween quilt. So thank you for sending those, Debbie. And let's see, Miss Hopi. Miss Hopi keeps me in stitches with her cartoons. So I said, I'm going to start showing y'all. But tell me if y'all think this is true. Isn't this cute? Oh, I know it gets harder and harder to go up the stairs, doesn't it? But it's awful nice to have your own art gallery. Okay, so this is so cute. Love that one. All right, now, and then here is one of Miss Hopi's bags that she makes. And I love the ancient symbols, the symbolism she puts from the Inuit people, the indigenous people of Canada. And I just think that is so wonderful. And here is a cute little bird. It reminds me of a nuthatch, but I'm not sure what it is. But wouldn't you love to have a bird you could feed from hand? Oh, this is my cartoon right here. Oh my goodness. I love this one. Yeah, give me a fabric store with a kitchen in it. I'm there. And here is Hopi's her stand, and this was from the week before. But I love the stuff she makes. Love it. And cute little fence around the corner from her. That is so neat. I love that. And here is, I told her I wish I'd had one of these when my kids were little because it's a wonderful diaper changing kit. And it even comes, I love her using her name as something just moved. What was that? I don't know. But look at this. And her stuff is made so well. Look at this beautiful piece of suede. The stitches are perfect. It's just lovely. And this also came, and the Labradorian flag, love that. So that little sprig of pine must be very important. And then here, this kit also comes with a changing mat. So, boy, that is awfully nice. So, it's almost worth going back and doing it again just to have one of those changing mats. But I'm not sure I could ever consider doing that again. But anyway, here is Miss Jo's beautiful tumbling blocks quilt. I love it. Great three-dimensional look. Okay. And then let's see who else. Oh, yes. Miss Mary sent me two things. She is doing that. I love this. It's huge. These are very big blocks, and she got her basket of scraps. It's a gray jay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miss Hope. Jays tend to be a bolder bird, so I can understand that. But that's so cool. All right, so Miss Mary got her basket of scraps and just went to town. And I love how that they're grouped by color. I think it's so pretty. So way to go, Miss Mary. And she said she had so much fun. I think she's going to keep going. Then she's making placemats and decorations for the family holiday meal that will be coming up. And I think it's wonderful. And in her usual merry way, she said, I'm making them bigger so that they fit better. I love that. No one says you have to follow the instructions. You do it the way it makes you happiest. So these are precious. Mary recently discovered a bird species that isn't found in your. Oh, wow. A spotted nutcracker. I love when you get a bird that doesn't normally come across your path. Every once in a while, we'll get a red-winged blackbird because we have the lake across the street. But you don't normally see those in neighborhoods. So isn't that fun? I'm with you, Mary. I love that. Okay, Miss Marcia sent me a wonderful picture of a wonderful crocheted phone case. Love this. Love it. Way to go, Miss Marcia. Okay, now let's see. Meltem and her latest. I love this. Her book covers that she has on her swan quilts. Etsy swan quilt art. I'm trying to remember on Etsy. And isn't this great? I love it. I love all the sewing, the personalization. And then this is a very old piece of weaving that her grandmother did. And you use your hands and your feet, and it goes around your toes to make the loom. Your body becomes the loom. Isn't that cool? Okay, now let us see. Oh, Cheryl, our sweet Cheryl, was so kind to show me because I was complaining that I wasted the money on those silicone things, and she said, "Oh no, she took a class. Look at if I can you see this good enough?" She took liquid polymer and somehow they made like a lace with it. I think that is so awesome. So you can learn so much with classes. I love them. Now here they took a piece of scrap denim and they colored the polymer clay, the liquid polymer, colored it, then painted it on the fabric, then used a heat gun to cure it. How cool is that? Isn't that awesome? And there's another picture of it. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Looks like a beautiful feather. Look, it's got glitter in it. It is beautiful. So there are so many things that you can do. And I love bringing you many different ideas. Thank you, Cheryl, for making that possible for me to share with them. And so how awesome is that? And I think I am done with the show and tell, but feel free to send me pictures of the things you love best. You don't want me to make this face if you don't send me pictures. like I would ever. I don't think so. So, anyway, but thank you for sending those pictures. So, now what I want to do is work some more on this pumpkin. Are there any questions? Oh, look at your photos to identify the birds. That's a neat idea. The liquid polymer clay was already colored. Oh man, that does make it easy. I have a bunch of little bottles, and so it's like maybe I'll make certain favorite colors of the liquid polymer and the ink. I tell you, I was really impressed with the alcohol inks. And just so you know, it is a dye, and it is made for non-porous surfaces. That's why you can't just use acrylic paint in place of it. You can't just use ink tints. Those are made for porous surfaces. And alcohol ink is made for non-porous. So now I know why so many people think that alcohol inks are all the rage, because there's more that you can do with them, and they dry pretty easily. I got to where you would use my heat gun when I would paint some alcohol ink on the tile. Use the heat gun, dry it real fast, then you can put more on. But anytime you drop any alcohol on, it will dissolve it, even if it's dry. And I have a feeling that for that tile to stay safe, color fast and safe, I probably should spray some acrylic sealer on it, or um, use some of the triple thick. But I have to look that up and find it out. But what fun! What fun! And I think she brought like a glass vase that I can paint scenes with the alcohol inks. And so it gives you another medium to be able to use your artistic enjoyment for. All right, so now before we go to the pumpkin, I just wanted to show you a little bit I had done to my moon glow kit. I love that I'm getting this done. So here is block number 2. No, let me see. Yeah, this it is block number 2 or block number 1. Well, if I look at a picture, I'll know. But here are the first 2 that are completely done and have that dark, dark purple border on them. So these are done, and I'm doing them by hand, even putting the borders on by hand. And there's this one. And this is nice because this is my evening relax. It's usually like the last thing I do before I go to bed. So now I'm working on, let me put this back up here. I'm working on block number 3. And if you've noticed, each block gets a little more complicated. So here is this block. It gives you the instructions on how to put it together. Here are template pieces. I put paper over these shapes, drew them. I never cut out my original, because if I pass this on to someone, then they'll have all the information they need too. So make copies. What you could do is put this on top of your copier and make a copy of it. That's another thing you could do. All right, so this is the one I'm working on. I love these colors. They are so rich and swampy and amazing. I just love them. Now let me get my needle out of here real quickly. And okay, so here is the half point of this. And so what you do is you make it in quarters. Let me see. Yeah, because this, you make it in eighths. This is 1/8 of the total block. And you put this piece on first, then you put this piece on. Now, when you get to the other half of this quarter block, it goes the opposite way. And so you just have to follow the instructions and pay attention. Now let me get my iron hot, because while I'm right here, I want to go ahead and iron this, and I'll show you how I'm ironing it. The reason I might be ironing it a little bit differently, let me get my pieces laid out, because different pieces and different colors go together. But here are these pieces and here are these two colors. But the colors she puts together, before I would not have known you could really use those pieces together. It is just surprising. You know, it just always catches me off guard. But she is so tempted. Like this is like a dark forest, but she puts it with a turquoise. I wouldn't have thought about that, but that's how you get the amazing glowing effects. Whoops, amazing glowing effects. And then there you get the whole quilt. So this is a very special quilt to me, and I am very happy that I'm finally doing this so I can enjoy it. Now, do you see what I'm doing? The very center of the 2/8 pieces, 1/8 and 1/8, that equals a quarter. Whoops, Deb, don't melt plastic. Hold on. I'm so glad Bonnie gave me these wonderful, years ago, these wonderful flamingo towels. And boy, they come in handy when I make a big boo-boo all of a sudden. But okay, there we go. But let me put this back on to warm it up. Put my towel back. I keep the towels right here because you never know when something is going to happen. Thank you for those towels. Miss Bonnie, we're going to have a show soon for Miss Bonnie and let everyone know just what she means to this group. She's been here from the beginning, just about the very beginning, and was very much a part of making this group a successful group. She was so supportive all along. So she's very, very important to me. All right, so you kind of got to be careful how you do these. The one thing I found is normally I don't like to press my seams open, but sometimes it's a lot of fabric coming to one point. So you kind of have to decide what's going where. And I will come back in here and do a little bit of judicious trimming, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, I like having these main seams pressed open. This seam right here. But then what do you do with this seam? So I'll come and trim this back. Okay. And whoops, sorry about that. And I'll trim it actually starting here. I'll trim it. Okay. That way this can lay open and this one's fine. Now when it comes up to here, I'll trim this back a little on each side because I have these heavy seams coming up and everything intersects. The same thing with this right here. I'll just do a little light trimming right there to allow the other one to lay open and lay flat. What I'm trying to do is to keep from having a big thick lump of fabric that can actually, when you're quilting it, it can actually kind of stop at that big lump of fabric, and you have to be really careful. But now that I did this trimming down here, I can put this back the way I want it. Let me make sure this one's trimmed enough too. So it's just a matter of making everything play nicely together. And it's not a magic thing. It's you observing your block, your fabric, and seeing what does it seem to want. A lot of times how I press my seams, really just relates to how they kind of seem to want to go. And most of the time, that's how I leave it be. Now, sometimes I might take just a little bit off of right there, because this is another point that when you join all these sections together, that's going to end up being a lot of fabric. Everywhere two fabrics meet, you double it. Sometimes two fabrics meet that have two fabrics each, then you quadruple it, and it can be a real mess. So now, once I iron from the back, then I come to the front. I always do the back first if I have a different way that I want to iron or press, pardon me, press. Yeah, don't do this. Just move it and stop, move it and stop. This is pressing instead of ironing. Okay? Now, that looks pretty flat. Now, what you want to do is let it cool as much as possible before. Bye, Bonnie. Take care, hon. Oh, is she getting ready? Aw. Aw. Okay. So now you let this cool while it's laying here. Then you carefully put it all together and put it back. Put it in this baggie. But do you see what you do? By letting the fabric cool, then you'll get it to stay square and straight. And then you put it like this, fold this up and put it. In fact, while I'm here, pardon me for doing some of my chores with you here, but this one needs to be ironed. I have not ironed it since it had its borders put on. When I'm doing this by hand in the evening, I'm not near an iron. And so as soon as I get near an iron, I like to get it nice and tamed down. Let me bring this up a little. Okay. But I like to get this nice and tamed. And it's just, once you've trained it good with the iron, then it's so much easier from then on. Now, I am noticing a little bit, like I iron here, I get a little bit of a bubble here. So that means that my sewing of this star was not completely flat. But I'm going to tell you this, after my years of experience, it's not enough to worry about, and it will quilt out. There was a song at one point. This woman said, "Oh, just quilt it out." Well, not everything can you quilt out. I mean, if the quilt waves at you, you're not going to be able to quilt it out. But if it's just a little ripple, I think you can quilt it out. I feel sorry for quilters who are handed something that, oh my goodness gracious. All right, so now what we're going to do, whoops, I'm going to need to recover this board. Every once in a while, I'll jam the scissors into it. All right, so what I have is I'm getting my colors that I'm going to use for this pumpkin, getting them ready. And make sure, good, the iron's still hot. Okay, and a lot of my fabrics are already ironed to fusible, because when I do any collage work, I have them ready. And I love this. I love it. And I keep them in a little tub, and that way they're ready to go. And when it comes that I want to work on something, I can pretty easily and quickly get it done. Now, these are very subtle, but they're different colors. So I love that. All right. So what I'm going to do here I'm going to cut off. For this, I'm using Steam-A-Seam 2. Now, the reason I'm using Steam-A-Seam 2 is because let me get this. I'll get this flat and warmed up. Because I am not going to be sewing on this canvas. And I want it to hold the best possible way. So I always put the Steam-A-Seam on the side that looks the roughest so that the pretty side faces up. All right, now that piece is ready. Now we'll put that to the side and get this piece ready. This is from an ombre, I can tell. So let me, and don't make the mistake. Sometimes I make the mistake of getting too much fabric ready. And I don't want to waste the Steam-A-Seam or the fabric by making so much more than I really need. So I just cut this out and I just see which side wants to peel off first. And that's how I do it. I'm not worried about what side is this or that because this is just an easy process. All right. Please make sure that when you get ready to iron down any fusibles that you don't allow the fabric to fall on the floor. I mean the paper. The paper they put on these fusibles are extremely slippery and you will fall if you step on it. So please, we've got to be very careful. You know how that is. So now what I'm going to do, I don't need too much green. I have decided I'm going to put a leaf on this pumpkin, but I don't need too much. But if you were to step on this, I mean, it is so slippery. So please, I always make sure that I put it immediately into the trash can because I'm not falling. It's so funny when I go to the doctor and they say, have you fallen? And I never want to say yes. Okay, so this has got some, let me, oh, this is a pretty one. I'm definitely going to, this is a very subtle orange. And what you want is just so many different shades, values, because you want to try to get this pumpkin to look as three-dimensional as possible. So have any of you watched any good shows or movies lately? Anybody brave enough to watch pumpkin pecan pie? Now I could use some of that, that's for sure. Who was making that pumpkin pecan pie? Oh my goodness. So, okay, so now let me put the rest of this on. Just want to have a few colors to use and then we'll start to work on. Okay. Now, the reason you need as many different tints and tones is we're going to try to make this pumpkin look as three-dimensional as possible. So now, here we are. This is a great shade to do a highlight. And let me come back over here. If this piece didn't end up having the fusible on it, then I'm just going to use, this is too empty. Let me get a bigger one. I am going to use some good tacky glue because it'll hold dry faster. Put some of that there and not too much that it squeezes out over everything. But now I'm going to take this light color. I want a highlight. So I'm going to come here and do a nice highlight. Okay. All right. So now just making sure you pull off the paper, leaving the fusible, which is usually very sticky. And I'm going to put it right up against. You notice how I made it into a curved look. But I have determined that I want my sun to come this way. So the sun is over here and it's coming this way. So this part of the what do you want to call this? The segmented pumpkin, with the there. See how I've got that now right along that line? And this is going to be a light shade. And then I come and I iron. Okay? Now, on this side, because these are lumpy, bumpy, on this side, there's going to be a shadow. So now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to use some of this. Let me see. Or do I want to? I think I'm going to use a little thin. And I want to mimic this line. But it's really awesome that right by the lightest, you put the darker. And I think that'll be right cool. All right. And if you stay thin enough, you can manipulate the fabric better. So let me show you about that. So now this is going to come in here and go right there. But once you take off the paper, then you've got that good old bias to help you. So let's use that. It gives us enough trouble plenty of times, so let's use it now in our favor. So I'm going to lay this right here, bump it right up against that light color, and lay this right down the line. I may have to before I do too much stretching of this, let me put the iron on it. And then just look at this, just iron and put it in place. And just keep it right along that line. Okay. And I'm trying also to be careful not to keep the iron on the canvas too long. I don't know what the gesso would do, and I don't want to, in any way scorch this pumpkin. So now what I want to do, let me see, what color do I want next? I want something a little bit darker than this. Here's something. This might be a nice next color. So let me see. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is come in here with this. Oh, I like this. Yes. And remember too, I like the technique of leaving curvy edges. Like I would have thought to cut this out, but I might leave some of this. In fact, I might come right like this. And this, there's no right or wrong. This is just playing. It's just good playing. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take off a little bit more of this. And then cut this part into a curvy line because we want nice, gentle. That's the word of this week. All right, so now I'm going to take this. Let me see. I'm going to take this fabric off here. Okay. All right, now take the paper backing off of it, leaving the gloss on the fabric, which is the adhesive. Then I'm going to come up here. Now, you know what would have been good? Where I'm coming up where it's going to be dark, it probably would have been a very good thing for me to put the dark fabric here first. Let me show you what I mean. Because this is going down in the recessed part around the stem. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to, yeah, let me get this to go. I'm going to put this up nice and close. All right. All right, so this just makes it a wee bit easier, okay? Let me show you. This is why sometimes it helps to work the dark first and then come back to the light, come back towards lighter and lighter. But here we go. So this goes right here. Let me see. Let me do one more thing. I want this to kind of tuck right there around. Let me see if I can get this cut better. All right, that's good. Oh, perfect. Okay, so that's going to give the dark look where the pumpkin starts to curve back over and go down into the stem. All right, so now when I come back and do this, I can put this right up against, this. I'm going to take and blunt this just a touch. And if you want, feel free to get one of your artificial or real pumpkins and keep it nearby so that you can get more hints about how to handle the shape and the light and dark of this. So you just continue going around. Let me see. Not yet. I think I'm going to put another piece of this right here. And if you are worried that, about eyeballing this, then feel free to draw it out. Not a problem. But I really love challenging myself to make it work. So let me see. And if I can definitely move this, then, okay. And I'm getting this going in a little bit darker here towards the next point where there'll be a shadow. This is a lot of fun. I like this because it is truly decoupage type of, where you place it and you stick it. You don't have to sew. It doesn't have to fit. Let me blunt right here. Okay. But this is pretty easy. All right. So let me get it up a little bit more. Okay. All right. Get the iron started. And once you get that iron, you get that pretty stuck down, then you feel free to bring around and it will flex and move for you. All right, so I think I'm going for this next shadow line. I'm just going to do a very light bit of this again. Trying to pick a side that's a little bit lighter than the last one because this crease is right in front of you. And I don't think it would be quite as dark. Now you might say, well, Deb, you're not going all the way to the bottom of the pumpkin. Nope, I'm not going to, just because it would be too hard to do that long of a piece. So I'm going to trim this a little narrower. Let me see. Yep, a little narrower. So because this crease is not going to look as deep as the others because it's right in front of your eye. So it's not, the dark part won't be as wide as the ones farther away from you. Okay, making sure. No, I'm not sure this is stuck on good enough. And if not, I'll have to iron it again. Let me try to. Sometimes if you peel it from the other end, yeah, then peel it slowly. And when I started to peel this end, it wasn't fully stuck. So I just have to make sure it's in the right place. So when I lay it down, it's good. So here we go. And this is going to go right. Come on. Okay, whoops. You just got to make sure that the glue stays where it's supposed to. Okay. All right. Oops. Let me scoot that over. Okay. So hopefully you can see how we're doing this. And I might use a piece of this for the next highlight right here. And then you can see how I'll go from light to a little bit darker. And that is the way that we are going to get this to really look three-dimensional and play with the whole fabric part. Now, the leaves of a pumpkin at this stage will get pretty faded. So I've got several different, even some that's like this that will give a good dried up. Although this might be a really good stem. I could use this as a stem, but, oh, this might be real fun. Let me see. I'm going to look and see what is the best. Whew. Let's see. I think and I just kind of look at the shape and cut pretty similar. All right. All right, and then I'm going to put it here. I'm going to lean it this way a little bit more. That's kind of cool. Then I'm going to take and cut a little curve on the bottom of this stem so it fits here well. Let me okay. and keep the stem nice and craggy, because the stem, it's of a dying, the plant is for the most part dying, dead. This has been separated from the plant. It's starting to dry and shrivel up. Now let me do one thing really quick, if you don't mind. I'm going to get the pencil with a nice white eraser. I want to make, before I put this on, I want to make sure I can get that pencil line off. Although I could cover it with whatever I'm going to do the background, which I'm more and more thinking about doing a painted background. But that end of that came off so well that I think I can go ahead and just I want it to look like it's been cut off. Okay. So now I'm going to peel off the paper. And this will be the last piece, and then I'll hold it up, see if you can see if any, I want to see if you can see if any, if it's looking at all three-dimensional. All right, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this. Okay. All right, so now that is a little bit dark, I'm noticing. You know what I may do? I may put some ink tints to lighten it, or I may put a little bit of tulle over it to soften the color, because that is a little bright. I like the idea of it, but it's a little bright. So now I'm going to hold it up for you, and I'll keep working on it this week because I do want to show you what it's going to look like. So you'll know, hey, should I do something like this or not? So yeah, that stem is dark. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that. Even if I have to take a thinned out acrylic and fade it a little bit. I love the spots and stuff on it, but that's a little too bright. But anyway, you can see where that when we continue with the fabric and the dark, the light, dark to the light, to back to the dark, how we're going to give this a three-dimensional effect. And I think it's fun. Ah, the stem looks huge. That's a good point. All right. Well, there is something you can do. Let me show you. What happens if the stem is too big? All right. Let me go back to the close-up camera, because this is a very, okay. Here, this is very easy to do. What you do is you warm up the fusible. Warm up the fusible, then quickly pull it off. Okay? Now, with my fingernail, I'm just scratching off the fusible, but I bet you I can use this white, oh yeah, the white eraser is just rolling it right up. There we go. So then I have to decide how I'm going to do this. I'm thinking, but you just give it a little warm up first, because if you just start pulling it, it won't work right. Let me, okay, here we go. All right. So let me come back in here. Whoops. This is why I love these white erasers, because they won't leave dyes, inks or dyes. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. I might, you know what? I think I might have to, oh, I know what I can do. If you want to get up this extra ink and you don't, the extra fusible, just take and put a piece of fabric. Come in with the iron again and keep ironing it. It will keep pulling up the excess fusible. Okay. And then you can also, let me grab this towel again, take and rub it off. Just rub it off, and then that way you can put, let me put this part back here. Okay. All right. And then let me try. I hate to keep using this fabric, but it seems to, I think it'll work good. Oh, here's a cool one. Let's try this one. And this is what, anytime I work on something, if one thing's not working, try another. All right. So this is going to come out and like this. Okay. And it's going to come out like this. All right. Let's try this one. I think, Mary, you'll like this one better. The other, I loved how it had coordinating colors, but unfortunately, it's too dark and too big. So let's see. Now this, I'm going to have to work a little bit more on getting some of this fusible and the pencil off. But it's just being patient. Don't push down too hard. You don't want to stretch the canvas. And these canvases, you can pick up a canvas for like $2. This is not a particular big one, so it's not going to be too expensive. So I can finish, you see, just taking it easy doing it. Now, since I don't have fusible in this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the tacky glue because it's hard to do a fusible once you've cut the fabric out. That's why I like doing a section of fusible, like a square or rectangle on fabric, and then I can cut it out any shape I want. The fusible's already there. But to try to cut fusible to fit on a pre-cut fabric, that would be too hard. All right, so I've got the tacky glue on there. Yes, you could even touch it up with just some white acrylic paint if you needed to, because that's, it's what this canvas is made for. So let me cut a little bit off of this side. Okay, now let's try it again. I think we're going to have it this time. There we go. And I like the unevenness of the fabric. I like all of this. And then I can, let me see. Okay. I can come in with this and kind of darken it a little. Like this. There we go. So I think that will work. Now I could come back and put some of this on it if I wished or not. But I think that's a much better stem. And And then once I finish the pumpkin all the way down here, and I'm going to put a leaf right here. So I think I'll have the stem a little squiggly go here for a leaf. I think that will work. So here is, it's definitely better to get that light stem. Definitely better. All right, so I will work on this week. And thank you for speaking out and saying, I think it's too big, or, and when I looked at it, I thought, oh, it's too dark, because a stem is supposed to be shriveling up and, so the pumpkin stays nice and firm for a while, but the stem, soon as you cut it loose, it starts to shrivel up. So that is going to be much better. And now I can't wait to finish this. I love it. If you look, it's like, whoops, I don't know who I'm showing. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me try it again. I think this is going to look much better. And I love how it's like painting with fabric. Look how those fabrics start melding to each other. So remember, overlap a little bit, use curvy lines. You are painting with fabric. And the pumpkin's going to come all the way out here and down. And then I'm going to want some shadow underneath of it and dark on the pumpkin itself to show those shadows. So hopefully you will like this. Let me bring in the light. And I hope that you might try something like this too. Okay? All right, everybody. I'm tired now. I've done enough. Thank you for spending time with me. You're so wonderful and you make my day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take good care of yourselves. Have a good week. I think Mark and I might go see another movie because they are wonderful. Hello, Miss Hopi. It's so good to see you. So have a good week ahead and please consider checking out Textile Talks. You can find them. You can probably type it into your search engine or type in SAQA, SAQA. Then when you get to the SAQA site, type in Textile Talks. They're free. They're Wednesday afternoons, New York time, 2 to 3 p.m. And there's a lot to learn. Oh, Laura, it was so good. Thank you, honey. It was so good seeing everyone. Take good care. Oh, thank you. And do something special just for you. Okay? Bye-bye, everybody. And have a happy Halloween this week. Bye-bye. Take good care. Bye-bye, everyone.